The Early Childhood Workforce Commission spent 3 years looking at who makes up the early childhood workforce, what their impact is, and what they need from us. We looked deeply at the people and organizations that rely on the early childhood workforce, both directly and indirectly. We learned many things, but one thing rose above all. This workforce, and therefore this report, is crucial to the well-being of everyone in our state. The need for a strong early childhood workforce affects us all. We are all part of this endeavor. We are all in this together. To tell you more, it is now my privilege to introduce Senator John Stinner, a member of the commission. In January 2015, Senator Stinner began his first term in the Nebraska State Legislature, representing District 48. He is currently serving his 4th year as chairman of the Appropriation Committee. Please welcome Senator Stinner.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you all for being here. I think this really sends a message, certainly to me as a legislator, but to the entire state of Nebraska. This is an important subject, and thank you for being here. This has been a long trek for me. It really kind of stretches back to my days at the Gering School Board. At that time, No Child Left Behind came in, and we started testing our students and finding out if they were really getting what they were supposed to get. And at that time, our third graders, less than 60% of our third graders were reading at the third grade level. And so we continued to test and continued to look, and we thought as a school board, there's nothing more basic than having reading skills, comprehension skills to the learning process to become successful students. But I, as a business person, said not only is a successful student, but successful in life, successful in the workforce, and ultimately, hopefully, a lifelong learner. So we set about not only collecting the data and defining a problem, we set about allocating resources. And I will tell you that we caught flack from teachers, we got flack from parents, we got flack 2 to 3 years later, 90%, 95% of our third graders were reading at the third grade level. That was amazing, but what it taught me was, first of all, collect the data, define the problem, commit the resources, and then stay focused. And that's really kind of a theme of this whole process that we're going through. We're trying to define a problem. We're trying to figure out what the level of resources that we need to execute on, and then stay focused on it. I can tell you that when I started to run for the legislature, I bumped into Superintendent Miles at Scottsbluff, and he indicated to me that 61% of the kids that they tested weren't ready to be there, weren't ready to learn. And so they joined in a pilot project called Sixpence Project, and I think a lot of you as educators understand 0 to 3. My version of it is teaching parents how to be parents. I can tell you I spent time with those folks. It's impressive, very impressive. And then when I joined the legislature, you get bombarded with all of the information and challenges. But one of the areas that we looked at, prison overcrowding. We still have an overcrowding problem. We lead the nation right now in prison overcrowding. We're trying to figure out just what our strategy should be to lower that. Obviously, we've allocated some money for a maximum security prison. That will help somewhat. But interestingly, the report I was looking at said of the violent criminal population, 70% were high school dropouts. Think about that. Think about the linkage. Think about the fact when we start to allocate money within appropriations, over $200 million goes to special education. Think about that 60% of the kids showing up not ready to learn. Do they end up as special ed kids? To help them with their reading skills, to help them with their vocabulary? Is there something we can do to lower that cap, that number? Those are challenges, those are linkages. That's why I'm interested in early childhood and early childhood development. I think that there also is something to be said when a child is ready for school, they're not going to end up as a dropout. That it improves the quality of our workforce. I think we can bring the business community into this, and after they understand what has gone on and what is the benefit, they will be ready participants. And I'll try to send that message to the business community. The other part of it was, I was so interested, I went and became an early childhood fellow. I learned about pathways, I learned about brain science, stuff I never have thought about as a banker or a CPA. But it's fascinating. And if we can get that word out to those parents that are sitting there trying to raise their kids, that, you know, the kids don't come with an instruction booklet. But if we can develop that curriculum, if we can tell those people that quality care early on is important. And then we have to deal with the demographics that are in your report. We lead the nation with 2 parents. The good news is 2 parents are working because we have a work ethic. The bad news is 2 parents are working. So single parents, that whole demographic has shifted. So now we have to get the Department of Education to try to endorse some of these ideas and put that into the funding mix. We do provide some grant programs at the state level for early childhood. I think that can be expanded. I also put together a legislative review. We started in Lincoln, went to Kearney, and ended up in Scotts Bluff. What I wanted to do at that particular point in time was to assess, is there an interest in early childhood? What are the challenges that sit out there, and can we address those challenges legislatively, monetarily? So I tried to take kind of an inventory. Lots of people showed up, lots of interest. I think we did a survey that shows across the state, early childhood development is a big area of interest for the entire population. So there's interest, there's data to support it, and now we have to do something. And that's really what this study is about. The reason I joined the commission 3 years ago is because that's the next logical step. And the only part I really played in this was after we did all of this stuff and understanding the diversity across our state, and that's what the LR also gave me, was how diverse it is, how it's delivered. We got to put numbers to it. We got to set a goal. We've got the data. It's a matter now of resource allocation and how do we effectively do that, and then stay focused, execute. So that's my mission today, is to convey that message, certainly to you. I will continue to convey it to the business community, to the legislature. We're going to try to put together some kind of LR or a committee to, again, try to assess and see if we can move the ball forward. But this report moves the ball a long way forward in terms of its comprehensiveness, its depth, and it really gives you some targets. And with that, I thank you all for being here. It does send a positive message. I will convey that to my fellow senators when I get back. And I do have to leave after this. I've got an executive meeting that I've got to attend. I apologize. I intended on staying for the whole thing because the area is fascinating. I, as a grandparent, I, as a parent, and you all as parents, this is an area that I think we need to stay focused on. And I think that with the leadership we have on this side of things, with Dr. Mizell and the whole group that is put together, I think we can execute something significant in the state of Nebraska. So thank you.